Hello and welcome to CEAZOR Snack Sandwich. Today came across this post by Nakamomo, and he's one of the people at Inverse Finance, right? And this basically explains their 4 reasons why their Inverse ++ is a big deal. Now you can read through this Twitter thread here and get an understanding, but I'm going to use a flowchart to kind of explain it because I think it's pretty interesting. And they also have this Medium article here that you can read through as well, and you can get a kind of an understanding there, as well as go into their docs. Their docs is pretty well written and you can read there. However, like I said, I'm going to use a flowchart to explain what this token does and kind of why I like it. Now, a lot of governance tokens don't do much, right? There's a lot of governance tokens out there that simply allow you to vote. There are governance tokens out there that don't allow you to do anything. There are governance tokens out there that allow you to simply vote, and then there's like governance tokens that allow you to have some fee sharing mechanism like XSushi or SPEL and stuff like this, right? So I like what these guys are doing because they're trying to incorporate more DeFi aspects or more thought into how they can make this governance token more valuable and so forth, okay? Now, let's go over to the flowchart and I'll explain to you what they're doing with this token. Okay, so here we have Dollar Bill, and he's an INV token holder. So he holds the INV token and he wants to put it to the most use possible. Okay, so what can he do with this token? So the first thing he can do is he can stake it into the protocol for XINV. So this is the same place that you would put any token that you want to put as collateral or something into Inverse Finance. Now, I did a video on Inverse Finance maybe 2 weeks ago or so, and you can watch that and you'll get a better understanding of what I'm talking about. But they call this thing the anchor, and it's basically the main like pool of tokens that people can use to borrow and lend tokens from. So you just go to the website and you stake the INV inside, and then now you have XINV. Now I put here that it's a 1 to 0.99 because this token here, you're not going to put one INV and get one XINV because this is a yield bearing token. So then you know, it's worth more than this, and it's constantly going up in value because of these aspects that I will show you around here that cause it to go up in value. So the first thing that they're doing is that they have turned on the minter, the minter of the INV token, and they're going to just supply it to the people. They're just going to keep this APY at 100%. So they're just going to keep giving INV tokens to these people and make sure that this APY stays kind of high. And the other key thing about this, when a lot of X tokens, when you stake them, you get like a weekly dose of fees or a monthly dose of fee, or every couple of days they take the fees and they dump them inside. This is actually per block, like a normal stream. So every block, you're going to get more and more and more INV tokens. So this is interesting. This is good. Now, this is inflation, so keep that in mind, okay? Now, so here we have Boosted Bill. Boosted Bill's a user of Inverse Finance, and he, brings his, let's say his Yearn token because he loves Yearn, and he stakes it inside the protocol, and he borrows DALA at roughly 3%. This is a variable interest rate because he's borrowing from a pool, and it's based on utilization, supply, and demand. So he borrows some DALA, right? Now, this interest rate is actually kind of controlled by the protocol. If you think of they have this council of people, like basically the team, but it's like a council, right, of people who are inside the DAO and so forth. They can have the minter mint them some INV, right, anytime they want. Then they can supply that INV for XINV, and then they can borrow some DALA versus the INV and supply the DALA back. So they're able, through this mechanism of controlling the INV token, to kind of control the interest rate and keep the interest rate low and appealing for Boosted Bill. So if utilization starts going up, they can just give more DALA basically to the pool so that he can, his interest rate doesn't get jacked, right? Now, that would cause them to make a small profit because now he's borrowing their DALA tokens, right? So I'm not sure what they're planning to do with that, but that would be a governance thing, and maybe it will happen what happens here. some of this APY based on governance. Some of this APY is going to be given back to the INV token holders. So this is basically the fees. All of these trading platforms have a spread, a lend. Let's say I lend and I get, let's say I lend any token and I get 2%, and someone borrows and they pay 3%. And so there's a small spread in the middle, right? Because they're not borrowing 100%, but maybe there's like 0.5% of spread. And then 0.5% is kind of like fees, right? So all of these lending protocols have this. So some of that spread will be given back. Now it's up to the governance to decide what this is, and it's under discussion right now, but some of that spread will be given back and given to these INV token holders as fee sharing, okay? Like any other X token, so to speak. Now, he can also take his X, because he's an X token holder, right? He can then participate in governance. So he can talk about like, oh, let's add another token as collateral, or let's add another system to here, or let's partner with this protocol or this DAO or what have you. And then also like, let's manage this treasury, because I did say that this treasury is going to probably make some money if they are supplying dollar, and that dollar is getting borrowed and so forth. Now, next part. Another thing he can do is, because he supplied INV is a collateral type for dollar. So he can, not only is he getting all of these benefits of his XINV, but he can also borrow dollar and take that out into DeFi and use it, just like Boosted Bill for some reason has decided he wants to borrow dollar. So he can borrow the dollar, take it out into DeFi, make some money. Now there is one more thing. There's talking about a crazy boost button. Now what will this crazy boost button do? It will basically take the dollar that he's borrowed, right? So he would, let's say he has some INV, they will supply it, borrow some dollar, use that dollar to buy more INV, supply it, borrow some more dollar, 11 times to jack his APY, because he's getting APY on all of that XINV via this minting mechanism. So he's going to get a whole bunch of INV tokens if he uses this crazy looping mechanism. Now you can do this manually if you want. You could, but they're going to create a button that allows the users to do it with one click, and then of course they would have a one-click reverse. Okay, so that pretty much covers the idea of this inverse and inverse plus, and how they're trying to make this a positive sum token by integrating different aspects of DeFi into the INV token. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.